The British people have voted to leave the European Union, and their will must be respected. I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction. We should aim to have a new Prime Minister in place by the start of the Conservative Party conference in October.
The total number of votes cast in favour of leave was 63,598.
The total number of votes cast in favour of leave was 82,000.
Sterling, lowest level in 31 years.
Which is down some 12.6%.
I hereby give notice that I have certified the following. The total number of votes cast in favour of leave was 17,410,742. This means that the UK has voted to leave the European Union.
Wondering whether or not Mr Johnson will be coming to talk to us in just a moment or two. We heard...
In effect now, it's over to David Cameron.
The British people have made a very clear decision to take a different path. And as such, I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction. I will do everything I can as Prime Minister to steady the ship over the coming weeks and months. But I do not think it would be right for me to try to be the captain that steers our country to its next destination. This is not a decision I've taken lightly, but I do believe it's in the national interest to have a period of stability and then the new leadership required. There is no need for a precise timetable today, but in my view we should aim to have a new Prime Minister in place by the start of the Conservative Party conference.
You're on. Oh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching The Echo on Channel 21 Time Warner and Channel 811 Cincinnati Bell. We have a great show for you tonight. Again, because last week Sam and I actually did the whole show. We're going to do the same thing tonight. So stick around, don't go anywhere. We haven't finished what we were talking about, but I have a good news for you tonight, and that is that England is out of EU. That means England is out of the Soviet Union of Europe, and that's a great news. We're going to find out why that is a great news for us Americans in a minute. But also, I wanted to let you know that next week, the same time, we have a special guest. I'm not going to name the guest yet, but at some point during the show, I'm going to name him. So stick around. Don't go anywhere during the show. Well, the biggest news, the Brexit issue, is fantastic. But I also wanted to talk about other issues that we were talking about last week. Last week we talked about how important it is to stick to our founding fathers' plans, because they predicted everything from day one. They knew there would be a time that a tyrant government that has been infiltrated by a bunch of globalists, I should say, try to hijack the government of this country. And we're going to talk about that because we haven't finished yet. We talk about a very, very sensitive issues. Welcome, Sam Lugulo, the producer of the show.
Hello, everybody.
Last week was great. I got lots of great feedback from friends.
And I'm happy about that too,
Yes.
because almost right away they blocked us on YouTube, and then we had to dispute
Yes.
the copyright infringement.
Yes.
And I was surprised at how fast they unblocked it. It could have been up to 30 days.
Yes, yes. Well, we got lucky, but because of you people, we are in this business because you care, and we care about this country. And also, if you care about this country, then you can care about the rest of the world. But if you don't care about this country, believe me, whoever says, oh, we're thinking about the whole globe, it's a lie. It's a lie. Great news.
Yes.
England is out of the Soviet Union of Europe. I'll call it. No, I mean,
Yeah. In fact, I can't remember exactly who it was, but there was a head of state who was a leader of one of the former Soviet bloc countries, and he says, why would I want to join this? This is the Soviet Union all over again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, let's find out why it is important to us, to Americans. There's many other angles that we're going to take a look at this issue tonight. The first angle is that, Europe was under attack. Europe was under attack, and it was under identity crisis. What it means is that didn't have any identity, just like the Eastern Bloc of, the Eastern Bloc countries didn't have any identity.
You're not allowed to have your identity when you're under a Soviet communist system.
Yeah, exactly. It's homogenizing, basically.
Right. Everything is equal.
Everything is equal. There is no, because this is funny, because the pseudo-liberals keep talking about what? They keep talking about diversity, but it's mind-boggling that on Facebook, they're saying, oh, this is a disaster. Like, really? This is a disaster that England wants to keep its own identity?
Well, how dare you, Q? We're all supposed to be the same. We're all supposed to be equal.
Yeah.
Diversity only means diversity of skin tones and sexual preferences.
Exactly. That's the thing. But if, it's very interesting because the same people who are saying, oh my God, England is turning into this tyrannical Nazi country, don't care about the real Nazi that was created under the European Union rule. They don't care about that. They don't care, like right now, even those pseudo-liberals, whenever they get angry, do you know what they say? They say, that's it, I'm moving to Canada. And I say, okay, move. I mean, if you just want to travel, it's okay. I mean, nobody's going to stop you. I mean, don't make it about America. Maybe you just want to go and see Canada. I don't have any problem with that.
They're not gonna go to Canada.
But
they're doing what they're good at. They're whining.
Exactly. Let's just say, right now, they could move to Canada. I tell you what, in tomorrow's globalist world, there is no difference between Canada and United States and Mexico and the rest of it. All of them, they have one rule, they have one everything, one law, one,
I wish they had one law. Well, I guess they would have the same system of unified laws.
I'm going to talk about that.
If there was one law, it'd make things a lot simpler.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too, because this is not what you think. It's a globalist corporation arbitration. It's like the arbitration groups that work on that. We get to that point because it's all about that. Why you're happy. You wonder why we're happy. It's England, this is America, why we are happy. But basically they what they don't know is in tomorrow's globalist future, there is no other choices. You have to deal with it. There is no other countries, other laws, other customs. Once you get stuck in Belgium, it doesn't matter. You cannot move to, let's say, Germany. You cannot, let's say, move to Czech, because even if you do, what's the difference? Everywhere you're the bad guy. If you are the bad guy, if the globalist government has some problem with you. But let's say today, here in America, somebody doesn't like America, they can go and live in France, because, you know, apparently France has what they need, which is socialism. But in tomorrow's world, everything will be the same. So we are happy.
And sterilized.
Exactly, sterilized. Well, exactly.
It's going that way literally, unfortunately.
Exactly, because we get to that point that because we talk about how they're turning robot to human and human to robots, and how procreation is going to be in the laboratories only. We talked about it last week, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more tonight. But the other issues that, you know, has brought this happiness for me tonight is once one country, such as England, said no to this dictatorship that was not democratically elected by European people. Once England said no, England set an example for other European countries that are defense, like they are not sure if they want to be a part of, you know, European Soviet Union. That makes it easier for countries such as, let's just say Holland maybe is pissed because Holland doesn't want to share its hard work with, let's say, Turkey, or let's say, I don't want to look down at Greece, but right now they're in crisis. You know, maybe they don't want to share that. Maybe they want to keep their wealth. They want to keep their hard work, you know, earnings. It's not fair that they share it with a nation that's not ready economically, you know, and also they don't have any plans exactly like Holland does, because Holland, a country like Holland, they have a plan for their next 50 years. But these people that just joined European Union, they don't know what's going to happen next day. Most of them. Especially like Turkey, a country like Turkey.
All right, so they're paying welfare on a continental level.
Exactly. A taxation on a very global scale, and it's not only that, but also, see, each country has its own culture. Each country has its own, let's say, judicial system, like the system that being created during the last centuries. It didn't happen in one night. Like, you know, let's say Belgium, for instance. They didn't come up with these civil rights and stuff like that in one night. They made so many mistakes, and they fix it next year, and so on and so forth. Now, what they came up with in that country was based on their culture, their problems, their race, their location in Europe, everything. But what you know, could be a norm in this country could be something very unusual in the next country, you know.
Wait, are you talking about actual diversity?
The actual diversity, yes, exactly. So, by unifying all these laws and replacing it by the corporation law, the international corporation laws, such as the bank cartel and, corporations that go beyond the borders, and the only border that they have is really making more money for themselves, and they don't really care where they're located. They're not faithful to any of these countries.
No, they're not loyal at all. And this term free trade, it's not free for the individual nations.
I wanted to get to that, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's annoying. The term itself annoys me because it's not free for countries to decide how they want to trade and who they want to trade with. It's free for the multinational corporations to set up the trading rules.
Exactly. It's a deceitful term. It's a deceitful term because people say, well, I'm an American. This country was built based on what? Trade and business and this and that. So that
free
is
enterprise.
Good. Yeah, free enterprise. So that part is good. And then it's free, so it's kind of like liberty, freedom, But it's none of the above. No. It's none of the above. We get to that point. And the other good thing about this, England being out of the Soviet Union of Europe is the fact that the euro was the facade. Basically, euro was technically a big lie. Mm-hmm. The biggest lie in the history of economy. And every country, France, Germany, warned about imminent collapse of the European economy. So many times they said, we don't know how long we have. This is what they kept saying. And take a look at the gold and silver market today. I mean, I understand. Mr. Soros is making money anyway. He could have made money, by England staying in Union. He's making money that England is out. That's the name of the game. It's a win-win game that they have. They always, always, always make money. However, this also gives an opportunity to other European countries to go back and like for instance Germany, German mark. It was a strong money. German mark after British pound was a very, very strong currency in Europe. But look at it now. They don't know what they are doing. They don't know when their whole economy is going to collapse because, do you know why? Because this euro, this currency, this fake currency, this artificial currency has lots of parasites. Mm-hmm. The countries that are behind, the countries that have bad economy, the countries that are ill. And that was...
The German mark, it's called the Deutschmark now, isn't it? Or
it was Deutschmark, but now it's euro.
That's true, yeah. They don't have the Deutschmark anymore, do
Not
they?
anymore.
Okay.
Deutschmark was one of the strongest currency in Europe after British pound.
And after England joined the EU, they didn't switch to the euro, did they?
I believe not, no. Yeah. That's one of the things that they didn't do. Mm-hmm. What they had their own banking system and they had their own army. But Soviet European Union wanted them to disarm themselves and give it out to the European army. Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two, they said, no British pound, we want you to give that away too.
They want them to adopt the euro.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, people realize, this is a huge because the reason that England was was because of its mighty, powerful army. So if that, I mean, it's a little island. Just imagine, like, any country can go and invade it. You know, why they're the superpower, like even today? Because they had a good army. If they give that away, what is left?
Right.
Just an island. So, for those of you who tweet this or on Facebook say, oh, British didn't know what EU standard for. Really? They didn't know what EU standard for, and they kept refusing euro as their currency. Are you kidding me? They didn't know what they were voting for. This is what they're saying. And guess what is the source? The Google. The global, I call it global.
Okay.
Google.
Global.
Yeah. They quote Google. This is their source. Oh, so many British are Googling up the word EU. What does it stand for? Are you kidding me? This is a childish game. They know what it is. They have been dealing with it. There have been demonstrations. There have been all kind of stuff. There have been blogs on it. Then all of a sudden they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? Are they like Haji Hussein Obama's followers? No, they're not. Just because this guy's name is Hussein, then they go after him and support him. No, they know what exactly they did, why they voted out.
I guess these people are projecting. They think because they're stupid, everybody else is stupid.
Exactly. This is a great tactic because it reminds me of when we were little kids, like, they would start, saying like, no, you're stupid, because, but that doesn't work in this adult world. Doesn't work that way.
People who are still children mentally think it works.
Yeah. Now I'm talking about the adult world of England. Like, they're more mature. Like, if you go to England, they're still reading books. If you go to England, like in the toilet, even some restaurants or some hotels, you know what they did to their toilet paper? There are actually articles on the toilet paper. So when they're in the can, they get busy, they read, So, thank you, England. All I can say is thank you. Now, okay, the biggest positive result of this opting out is the Trans-Pacific Agreement or Trans-Pacific.
The Trans-Pacific
Agreement is.
It's the TPP, so it's Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Partnership Agreement, and also what they plan.
Is that the one you're talking about? Because England's in the Atlantic.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so.
But they wanted to. Okay, so what happened? If you go back, Obama is keep talking about this and the relationship that if England, say Europe, in the Soviet Union of Europe, they're going to be in the back seat of this Trans-Pacific Partnership, and if they don't. It sounded that he didn't directly said you're going to be punished. He said you're going to go just like anybody else, at the end of the
Okay, so
line.
You're talking about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's with China.
Well, China actually, that's very interesting you said that. China is not one of those countries. China apparently even refused being a part of this because China wants to basically be the next superpower. So this Trans-Pacific Partnership is the beginning of the New World Order, basically the super state. You know, that's the beginning, but they don't tell you that. Just like they didn't tell you about NAFTA. Just like they didn't tell you about CAFTA. None of these things was clear to you guys until somebody, a journalist, just analyzed the whole thing for you guys, and then you realize, oh my God, the whole thing is anti-sovereignty. The whole thing is, you know, taking away your liberty and individuality. So it's interesting that there are 12 countries, Japan, like Brunei, all these countries are going to be a part of it. But guess what? Number one problem that should, you know, ring the warning bell for you guys, that is these meetings, all of it, are in secret. As secretive as Bilderberg meetings, undemocratic. And then the other thing that we talked about earlier is, because every country has its own laws, which is based on your culture, based on your environment and everything. In that, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the international arbitration, corporation arbitration are going to take the place of that. Something that is known as investor dispute system. IDS, yes, IDS. Basically, the IDS was created after World War II because these huge corporations, when they wanted to rebuild all these little countries that had been damaged, they said, hey, we want some sort of guarantee, because we go over there, we establish this plant or this factory or whatever the heck they were doing over there, and then all of a sudden one dictator toppled down the other dictator, and nobody knows what would be the situation of that company and the money involved and so on and so forth. So lots of companies apparently lost money. So they came up with this investment dispute system that basically doesn't deal with government to government or government to the company, that deals with what? Company to company? Well, not exactly company to company, but they don't call that. They say, well, arbitration system with, the company, basically.
And who's the arbiter?
Corporations.
Okay.
The corporation lawyers.
So it's a corporate club.
Yeah, it's exactly, great name, because that's exactly what it is.
And they bypass the governments.
Exactly. So you might want to say, so what's the difference? What is so bad about it? I tell you what's bad about it. If tomorrow the freaking Saudi Arabia put illegal chemicals in their gasoline in the States, based on this new law, because based on our law, we can go and say, hey, they put poison in our gasoline, and we have environmental system, we have court system, we have all independent system that would stop that of getting distributed in the United States. Guess what? They can bypass that tomorrow through this system, because you don't go to the Supreme Court, you don't go to any of these departments, you go to this international arbitrator, and what do? They take their own side. What is their side? Making more money. The same person who was the corporate lawyer, like let's say 3 weeks ago, today is the judge in this system. Who do you think is going to take care of? his daddy, not you. You're not his daddy. Who is your daddy? But seriously, that's something that you need to think about. Like, based on this law, tomorrow, if you want to raise up, let's say, the minimum wage, they can come and say, no, you're not going to raise the minimum wage because, you know, based on their law, based on this new international law, you have no choice. Because even if you go to the Supreme Court, they're going to say, sorry, we just take care of the, you know, domestic stuff. We don't take care of this. You know, this is...
We don't get any representation
exactly.
in the corporate club. What you say the name of it was? The ID something?
Oh, the system is called the Investor Dispute System.
Okay, the IDS. Yeah, we don't get any representation in the IDS.
Yeah.
And they're bypassing our governments. Mm-hmm. So that means our governments are not sovereign because they're not making their own trade rules.
Exactly.
And we have no say in the process because well, theoretically we have representation in our government.
Yeah.
But no representation in the corporate club.
Exactly, exactly. See, think about it. There is no democratic system. I mean, you did not elect these people. Just take a look at what's going on in the United States. You apparently elected these people, apparently, and they don't work for you. Just imagine that tomorrow you don't even have that privilege, which is, or I should say rights, to elect your representative. That's going to be taken, like, only would, you know, rule over you, like one bunch of overlord over their slaves. I mean, literally, we're going to be enslaved because there is no election system. Like in European Union, this, you know, there was no election.
I don't know. I think they'll keep elections around. They'll keep all that stuff around, and it'll just be a facade. You know,
Well-
and people will think that you know, they have some kind of say-so, so they'll keep voting and keep participating in the system. When actually there's a, you know, I don't know if this would be classified as a shadow government. I guess it would. You know, there's actually a shadow government running everything that the common person has no representation in and no say-so in.
Absolutely. But let me ask you this. Do we elect the United Nations, the Secretary of United Nations?
No.
No.
Not. I know there's not a direct election. Is he elected by the member states
Yeah.
or okay?
Bunch of interest groups inside of, you know, what they're doing over there.
Now, do they represent nations or corporations?
Well, that's a great question, because either case, we are not participating in their election. They're just there. You don't like the Secretary of United Nations, too bad, because he is who he is. But in our case, if you don't like Haji Hussein Obama, you can do something about it. And you could actually do it. You're going to find out very soon how you can participate in the destiny of your country, yourself, and your children very soon. There is a solution, and we are going to invite a very great person who has been fighting and who has been talking about these things for years. His name is Jim Condon Jr. He is one of the most prominent independent politician here in Cincinnati. I'm very honored to know him through Sam, because this guy is so honest and so, I would say, to the point that, you know, other news agencies or other papers, you know, they always ask him what's going on, like, you know, because he said as it is. He doesn't, you know, sugarcoat anything. He doesn't. Nobody can buy this guy, and
he's a real treasure in Cincinnati.
Exactly. And he said it as is. Either they like it or they don't like it, he says it as is. And we need politicians like him. But the most important thing that he's doing is educating you and I about how we can take our country back. And that's through the precinct solution. We're going to talk about it probably not next week, but maybe the week after.
Yeah, next week we have a special guest. His name is Christopher Berlin.
Yes.
It'll be a 3-hour-long episode. And also the day before, he's going to be in the Westchester Library.
Yes, yes,
and,
Christopher.
I wish I had more details about that, on hand, but
it's a secret. No, it's not a secret because.
Contact Dr. Kiani here for further information. But yeah, Westchester Library. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make that. I'll be working, but I will be here for Berlin's appearance here next week on Friday.
I just wanted to talk about him a little bit. Christopher Berlin, he's one of the researchers that basically educated people about the real event that happened on 9/11, or at least he's trying to find out, about what really took place. And something is very clear. What they told you about 9/11, definitely not true. And he's a person who goes town to town, state to state, and educate people about it, number one. Number two, he goes even beyond 9/11 and explains about this global cabal that is running the whole world, and come up with the stage events, stage terrorism, stage this and stage that, and he kind of analyze everything right in front of your very eyes, so you cannot be fooled anymore, anytime. And we are very honored to have him here on this show. We thank all of those who have been contacting him, and he's going to be here. And thank you for arranging that.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. But let's go back to the England, and there is a clip. We have the second good news. David Cameron is going to resign because he's a burnt agent. He has no use to the globalists anymore. And basically, as he says, he's going to be the prime minister until the real prime minister would be appointed by the royalty, by the Queen of England. And after that, who knows what's going to happen. But I think anything would be better than what's going on right now. Let's watch that clip together.
The British people have voted to leave the European Union, and their will must be respected. I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction. We should aim to have a new Prime Minister in place by the start of the Conservative Party conference in October.
The total number of votes cast in favour of Leave was 63,598.
The total number of votes cast in favour of Leave was 82,000.
Sterling, lowest level in 31 years.
Which is down some 12.6%.
I hereby give notice that I have certified the following. The total number of votes cast in favour of Leave was 17,410,742. This means that the UK has voted to leave the European Union.
Wondering whether or not Mr Johnson will be coming to talk to us in just a moment or two. We heard...
In effect now, it's over to David Cameron.
The British people have made a very clear decision to take a different path. And as such, I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction. I will do everything I can as Prime Minister to steady the ship over the coming weeks and months. But I do not think it would be right for me to try to be the captain that steers our country to its next destination. This is not a decision I've taken lightly, but I do believe it's in the national interest to have a period of stability and then the new leadership required. There is no need for a precise timetable today, but in my view we should aim to have a new Prime Minister in place by the start of the Conservative Party conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You're watching The Echo on Channel 21 and 811. This show is about England being out of the Soviet Union of Europe, as I call it. The reason that this show is about that is it's a concept of sovereignty, it's a concept of liberty, it's a concept of individuality. We were talking about that last week, like how different our country is with these other countries. Like, you know, why people actually love America, why people, you know, come to America, why they want to be a part of America. We never, you know, think about that. We never think about that. Why people, thousands of millions of people want to become a part of this society, this country. Well, what do you think? Like, what do you think it is?
Well, I've been in America all my life.
Yes.
So the best example I can give you is people who come from other countries and tell me why they came here. And basically what they tell me is that, in essence, this is the land of opportunity. So that they can get something out of their hard work. In most places where they're coming from, you have to know the right people, you have to be born into the right family. And so there's not a lot of opportunity for them there.
Exactly. That is very true. And the biggest part is also because this opportunity was created by what? By the liberty to whoever you want to be and whoever you want to believe in, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, as long as you're not hurting anyone else's liberty. Meaning, if you're Amish and couldn't live in Switzerland or Holland, you're welcome over here to do that. And I'm very proud of Amish people, by the way, that, even though they have a very, very particulate type of lifestyle, but they didn't shove it in our throat. They didn't force it on us. As long as you do that,
I guess they're not left-wingers, huh?
yeah, exactly. They can be, but even though they should, because
They should.
because no, I tell you why. Because their lifestyle is kind of like the early commune or communism. Their lifestyle, like they live together. They have, you know, kind of like Shakers used to live the same way in one house. You know, everybody was just participating.
You know, I think the only area where communism works is within family structures, and I mean, generally the Amish, you know, as far as I know, they're pretty well interrelated.
Yes.
So, you know, when you try a communist system, if somebody gets sick or lazy or whatever, other people don't feel like picking up the slack, and it falls apart.
Yes.
The only place where it works is when it's family, and people will have an understanding of that.
Yeah.
You know, they have more compassion.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Oh no, but what I'm trying to say is that they could have been really, you know, pseudo-liberal or lefties, but they aren't. They're like, if you take a look at them today, they're making money by selling their furniture, by selling their product, which is like gold nowadays, because everything is contaminated and theirs is not, you know. Most of them, some of them compromise, but I'm talking about most of them.
It's not some cheap junk made in China.
Exactly. And you know, if you want to go and drink the real milk, you know, eat the real food, most of the time you can find it in the Amish community. And like I said, some of them compromise, but most of them are still doing what they're supposed to do, you know. So, yeah, this is a land of opportunity. Why? Because this opportunity was created based on what? Individualism. You could not create this through homogenizing everyone, because when you homogenize things, what is going to happen? There is only one way. There is only one style. There is no independent thought process, because you are told that the earth is flat. And if you're in a society that everybody believes that earth is flat, you don't have a chance to think about maybe earth is round, maybe it's a sphere. Right. You know,
there's no room for entrepreneurs.
No room for that. Yeah, there's no room for innovation.
Yeah, there's no reason to, you know, to be enterprising.
Exactly. Just imagine when Soviet Union existed. What was the result of that? You had 2-3 cars. They looked like each other, and the workers or the laborers keep looking at their watch, you know, when the work is over and they can go home and just, you know, relax, because there was no competition, no difference.
There was an interesting phrase that I heard came out of the Soviet Union: "We pretend to work and they pretend to pay us."
True. So, in order to get to that point, I always actually give that example, because in Iran, we had, as long as I remember, I don't know what's going on today in Iran, but back then every villager or every farmer, everybody living outside of the cities, they had their own little, you know, chicken coop, and usually these chickens were totally random. Like, they look so different. They had different feathers or colors of the feathers, and you know, some of them were short, some of them were tall. There was no you know, homogenized look for the chicken. They're
weren't-
all
they weren't-
white.
They weren't a bunch of albino clones.
Exactly, albino clone. They were
And
not GMO.
And what I read is that the reason that they bred the chickens to be all white is so when you go and buy the meat and there's feathers on it, you won't notice.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Well, that makes sense. But you know, you should have tasted these chicken because they were better. They were in many ways. Like they smell better. One piece of that chicken was enough for you for the whole day. And I'm telling you, like if you go to those little towns or village, you walk because you have to walk for everything. You have to walk long distance for everything. You know, the closest phone booth is like half a mile away or a couple of miles away, you know. So this is exactly like the society of America. Like people are here from different cultures, different background, different everything. And that's why this country has been so great. But now the globalists want to, they started from Europe, and Europe, because they wanted to be nice, bought into that, but immediately they realized that was wrong. I don't know if you know about it, but European laborers, workers especially, they used to be kind of like communist sympathizer, but guess what? Now they're totally the other way around. So screw that. We were deceived.
Yeah, yeah.
We were deceived.
They didn't realize that you know, communism meant opening their borders and bringing in a bunch of immigrants to take their jobs.
Exactly. They're taking away their jobs, and even their unions are pissed. That's funny, because before the unions were like, you know, kind of semi-socialists, you know, but now they're saying, what the heck is this?
And you know
this
what?
Is not even...
It's the same way in this country too. The unions actually support immigration.
There you
And
go. What can I say?
it's pathetic, you know. It's like the union's all about, you know, in theory, all about protecting your job. Well, why would you want to bring in workers who are going to work for lower wages and take your jobs from you?
Yeah, and you know what? If you are really, this is not just about taking away the jobs from you, but also you're supporting abuse. I tell you why. Because all these little Mexican workers that I come from, you know, closer to Guatemala, you know, because I'm talking about Cincinnati. I'm not talking about the rest of the states. But, you know, they lose, you know, their, you know, most of the time if they're working in, let's say, a meat factory or meat packaging factory or whatever, so many of them get disappeared, they lose their limb, they, you know, and because they have no rights to be in this country because they're here illegally, these factories, these corporations, huge greedy corporations, they take advantage of that. But if it was a legal worker, they couldn't do these things to them. They couldn't say, they couldn't just shrug and walk away. But now they can do that, actually. They can, you know, the worker can lose his hand. And you know what? If they don't like him, and you know, they call up the immigration office and they take away the gun, send him back to Mexico. And very, very often, many of them, you know, are the victim of the big corporation abuse. So you're supporting, not only you're taking away the jobs from your children, your loved ones, your friends, your neighbors, but also you're supporting the abuse, you're supporting the oppressor.
Right.
You know?
These immigrants that people love and adore, and they want them over here, you know, more and more.
Yeah.
They're supporting the abuse. You have
Yeah.
a good point there.
Yeah. So, you know, that's why this defeat of the one piece of the global government is important. I tell you what, European Union was not just the only piece. The other piece that they're pushing is this caliphate. Caliphate for Middle Eastern. Caliphate for all Muslims in Middle East, which I don't really like to use that word Middle East because it's a made-up word. There is no, and lots of people think Middle East is a country or Middle East is, it's not even a location.
It used
It's
to be
just
called
a
the
term.
Near East.
What is it?
It used to be called the Near
Yeah,
East.
exactly. That's a good point. That's a good point because yes, it used to be called Near East. Somehow it turned to Middle East. But the fact is, all these so-called super states are going to be united, and there are going to be 3, 4 of these super states making one global state. And once that happens, there is no way that you can have any individual freedom left. You cannot see the real diversity, which is what? Different cultures, different, if you don't like France, you can move to Japan. If you don't like Japan, you can move to South Africa.
I don't think anybody wants to go to South Africa.
I don't know why I said that.
They're all moving out of South Africa.
I don't know why I said that, but I'm just saying, just hypothetically, if you like diamond, maybe you go to South Africa, but, you know, well, it's monopoly on that, but don't go there. But I'm just saying, you do have a choice.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the communists, they took over South Africa.
I know. You do have a choice, yes. You do have a choice right now. But in that future, no, you don't have any choice. The only choice that you have is just being an obedient slave and, you know, just live like the people in 1984.
Yeah, George Orwell.
Yeah, George Orwell's book
Yeah.
or movie, whichever you prefer to read or watch. You know.
Plenty of versions of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, take a pick.
Yeah. And this stuff is serious. It's not, you know, it's not going away. So you have to be careful about your choices. I mean, when we talk about the takeover, we talk about these, you know, shady characters who, you know, push their agenda. There is agenda going on, and you don't even pay attention. But please pay attention for yourself, for the sake of your children. Pay attention to these things because, just like you said, you know, for instance, in the beginning of the show, we said about they being the real dictator, and they accused, you know, the freedom fighters of being dictator and being, you know, you guys don't think about diversity. But guess what? You are helping to homogenizing the whole world, and we are not. We are saying, no, I want to see everything. I want to even see the gay guy. You know what I'm saying? You know, because I want to see all these shades of human being, but I don't want to see something, a future, that we are all genderless, probably even hairless, something like that. Wearing like some sort of suit, like a stretchy suit, like in the movies they always show, walk around like a bunch of zombies, biological robots, and that's it. This is our, no, I don't want to see that. But apparently some of you guys are supporting that without even knowing that. You think that you are supporting the diversity, but you're not. You're not supporting that. You're step by step getting us closer to one of those science fiction nightmares.
Come on, Q. It's a utopia.
Utopia.
It'll be heaven when we get there.
Utopia, yeah, exactly.
We'll all be the same. And if you do anything different, you'll be gotten rid of.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of we all are the same. This is the most ridiculous claim ever. Take a look go in front of the mirror. Take a look at your body parts. Is your ear the same as your nose? No, it's very different. And its job is different, its shape is different. And, you know, if someone out of you guys say, hey, you know, I want equality, and turn the nose to the ear and the ear to the nose, is out of his freaking mind. Because they're not the same. They're not being there for the same functions. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with society. As above, so below. As within, so without. What you see in yourself is a mirror of what you see in yourself. And if you go bigger to the macro, you are the unit, and you are the little cells of this society. So if your body parts are different and have different functions, that means every one of us should have different functions. So don't tell me that a life of, a custodian at school is the same as a life of a brain surgeon. Don't tell me. But yes, their human value is the same. They have the same rights. They have the same rights to live and to pursue happiness.
And then they're both needed.
Yes, they both are needed, and they both are great and respected. But don't tell me that.
But they shouldn't have to, get the same pay and.
Exactly. They're the two different things, and besides,
one is more in demand than the other.
Exactly.
One is harder to achieve than the other, and that's why. That's why there's higher pay for the brain surgeon than the janitor, because not everybody can be a brain surgeon.
Thank you.
They need to offer that pay as motivation for people to go through all that hard work.
Exactly.
In medical school to become a brain surgeon.
Exactly. And let me tell you this: this brain surgeon actually trade his stress, his pressure, his responsibility with the money, versus this janitor or custodian. He doesn't have that pressure. He doesn't have that, stress. He doesn't have that responsibility. And he traded with what? When he goes home, he sleeps just soundly. He's in heaven. Everybody is different. Maybe he's happy with what he's doing. And maybe that's the definition of what? Happiness. Mm-hmm. You are content with your life, and that custodian is. He's got great kids. He's got, he sent them all to school, and he probably has, some, grandchildren. I'm not saying like this other surgeon doesn't have it, but he's got really greater issues, more complicated issues, and hence we, basically. In return, give him more money, so he wouldn't feel like, what the heck is this? I'm not going to be the brain surgeon.
It wouldn't be worth it to be a brain surgeon if you didn't get a fair amount of money for it.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if most of the time he's at ER or he's here and he's never been with his family, most of the time they're not able, sometimes they miss their children, their kids, the birthday party or whatever, So there should be a difference definitely between this guy who's missing out lots of things and really making lots of sacrifices, and this guy who doesn't have to do any of this, you know.
Yeah.
And we're, so one of the things that last week we said was about the culture. Now you understand what we are talking about, because the elite is practicing a sort of rituals. I can't even call it religion. A sort of rituals which is secretly extremely racist. And what you didn't know was that these things being kept in their libraries, never been revealed. They don't want to talk about it. If you talk about it, what did they say? That we are the racist ones. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what if I tell you that it's not a matter of the race? What if I tell you that even non-Indo-European people, when they talk about these issues, they have been labeled as hater, or sometimes even Jewish people actually criticize their own Talmudic teachings and education, and what do they call them? A self-hater. A self-hater. There was a clip, unfortunately we ran out of time like last time. I want you to play that clip about this African American woman who is not Aryan, who is not Indo-European person, but she is pointing out a great thing, and these people basically immediately label this poor woman as a hater. And this is like amazing how they can get away with this crap all the time. And let's watch that. After we watch it, we'll come back and talk about it more. Let's watch it together.
I think that the Zionist Jews who are running these big banks in our Federal Reserve, which is not run by the federal government, they need to be run out of this country.
Okay, that woman identified herself as an employee of the LA Unified School District, and right now she is in fact outside the LAUSD headquarters. She's taking part in an Occupy LA rally, and Susan Hirosuna, founder. Susan.
Yeah, behind me, Jeff, is the Occupy LAUSD protest. They marched from City Hall to talk about the $55 million surplus for LAUSD and the fact that, according to them, not enough is being done to bring back teachers. But I want to point out that also with me is Patricia McMillan, who you identified as a McAllister, I beg your pardon, who you identified as a LAUSD employee, but that is not the case at all because she was just fired. Tell me about it.
Yes, the YouTube video went up on YouTube this Saturday, and on it
You ran your comments. Were those comments the reason why you were fired, Patricia?
Yes, I had job assignments with LAUSD. All of that has been cut. They called me. They cut the assignment the following Monday, and they called me in today, and I was in the office less than 45 seconds. He told me I was fired. I no longer had a job with LAUSD.
Did he give you any reason why?
No reason why, and he put me out within 45 seconds. No reason. He told me if I didn't like it, go to see John Deasy, the superintendent.
And have you had an opportunity to talk to the superintendent?
No, I had not an appointment. I didn't have an appointment, so I didn't go up there.
So what is your response to the fact that you were fired, and you presume because of your comments that you made over the weekend?
Yes, the comments I made about the Zionist Jews being run out of the country because they are printing our money, and they own the Federal Reserve Bank, which Congress has nothing to do with. I did it outside of work. I was not working at the time. I think that my First Amendment right of freedom of speech has been violated.
And you're standing here with this sign, so you're certainly not backing away from the comments that you made today or the other day.
No, I'm not. I think Americans need to stand up. The word Jew is similar to communism today, being a communist. I think that we should be able to tell the truth about what the Jews are doing to this nation, the Zionist Jews, how they control the money system, how they control the markets and everything else. If we don't stand out, Jews have been run out of 109 countries throughout history, and we need to run them out of this one.
Patricia, let me just ask you specifically about Occupy LA. Your comments were melded into a report about Occupy LA. Do you identify yourself as an Occupy LA member?
No, I don't. I don't have a membership or anything. When I see protests that concern me, I go to them. I was just sitting out, and the photographer came up and asked me some questions. I didn't know I'd be on YouTube, but it doesn't matter. This is how I feel.
Well, how did you find that particular protest?
I found it because I started getting, Saturday, I started getting calls at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, early in the morning, and I was wondering, why am I getting calls, crazy emails?
No. Why did you become a part of Occupy LA if you don't really consider yourself in line with the philosophy?
No, I believe in the philosophy, but I'm not like a member. I believe in the philosophy. If I go to Boston, New York, that doesn't mean, but I believe in the philosophy. Yes, we need to get on top of Wall Street and get those Jews out of this country.
Susan.
Okay, and Jeff, I wanted to call in somebody else who's also here, and I know this is a little uncomfortable, but PJ is here from Occupy LA. And PJ, what do you say when there are signs that perhaps might run afoul of what your philosophy is with Occupy LA?
Occupy LA is a group that is nonviolent, and we don't support division or divisiveness. So for someone to come in and exercise their freedom of speech, well, that's certainly something that they have, but they don't speak for Occupy LA.
There have been noted other anti-Semitic type signs at Occupy Wall Street and also here.
There are probably going to always be signs that perpetuate hate myths. We can't control every sign that's there, but certainly the overwhelming number of signs are positive.
But you don't do anything to edit?
This is a country that has a basic First Amendment right that allows you and I to talk, and we certainly are going to support our First Amendment rights and not attempt to revoke anyone else's. We encourage them.
Doesn't it erode Occupy LA's credibility a little bit if you include sort of a fringe thought?
No, it doesn't erode our credibility, not one bit. Not for anybody who really wants to come down and...
It is getting criticism.
You have to let me finish. So it doesn't erode our credibility, not one bit, because we have 1,000 signs that are pro up with the people. So of course it's going to get attention, but it is something that if you want to come down and investigate it, you're going to find far more signs that are positive for the people.
Okay. So do you
Susan?
have something in particular to say to this woman? How do you feel about her sentiment?
I think that she's going through a very tough situation, just losing her job.
Can you go forward and say
Susan.
you denounce her sentiment?
Susan.
I am as an individual. I can't. As an individual, I'm not going to speak for the occupation movement to say that the occupation movement disavows her. But as an individual, I do not stand by hate speech.
Everybody wants to talk about their individual sentiments as opposed to ones that are specific to Occupy LA. Jeff?
Well, I'll tell you, Patricia McAllister makes Mel Gibson seem like Mr. Rogers. That was a...
She has very strong feelings.
Yeah, she has a lot of hate pent up in her. Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of time we spent on her.
She says quite the contrary. She says she does not hate anybody. She's just pointing out what she calls a fact.
Yeah, all right. Well, misguided as it may be. All right, thank you, Susan. Appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you, we do have a response by the superintendent of the LAUSD, John Daisy. Says that I want to emphasize that we condemn the remarks made recently by Patricia McAllister. Her comments made during non-work time at a recent protest rally were her private opinions, were not made in the context of district services as a day-to-day substitute teacher. And by the way, I wonder what she taught. Ms. McAllister was an at-will employee. As of today, she is no longer an employee of the LAUSD, and that is one of the questions I was going to ask Susan, is what subject did the LAUSD have this woman teaching? All right, Liz?
Seriously, why did we even give her the mic? I mean, really, Jeff, why would we let her talk like that? That's what why would we let her go on? We got it. Yeah, okay.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching The Echo on Channel 21 and 811, and hopefully very soon on social media such as Hangout, YouTube, and Facebook. My name is Kumar Skiani, and the clip you just watched was very interesting because, first of all, I wanted to thank Susan, the reporter, for being a real ethical reporter and not being biased or being on anybody's side. I mean, I was amazed that Susan, the Asian reporter, she wasn't on anybody's side. She was just doing her job,
Right, right.
But
She doesn't have any white guilt.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think? Like, what? Okay. Let's go back to the culture of basically sleaziness, the culture of exploitation, the culture of that if you are not one of us racially, then I have the right to squeeze you, to,
Well, let's take a step back. Let's just go back to what Patricia McAllister.
Yes.
What she said. Now she feels like Jews should be run out of the country. That might be a little harsh. That's
She said Jewish Zionists.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Well.
Okay.
Modern Zionism is a recent thing.
Okay.
And the Jewish issue goes back way before that. I don't know that all Jews need to be run out of the country.
Okay.
But I guess some countries found that they needed to do that.
Yes.
And that goes back to, a culture of working to undermine the government where they're in, and doing it secretively.
Yes.
So that they, apparently they had to take steps to actually root these people out, to get them all kicked out. I don't know if that's necessary or not, who knows. But, that was that woman's opinion.
Yes.
Right? They did a street interview. They put a microphone in front of a person on the street, and they asked them for her opinion, and she gave it.
Yeah.
Right? The thing that's so ridiculous is that they're bending over backwards, like, how dare she say that? Oh, we're sorry we let her speak her opinion.
Yeah.
What's wrong with her? Like,
yeah.
It's one woman's opinion.
Yeah.
If you didn't want her opinion, why'd you ask her?
Exactly. But going back to, kick out, what she meant by kick all the Jews out, she was talking about the cabal. She was talking about a Jewish guy behind the Talmudic teachings that says if you are a Goyim, or if you are a non-Jewish person racially, first of all, this is so funny when they made up this story that Jewish is a race, because, Jewish ethnicity is a part of Semitic people. And that means what? Arabs too. Arabs are Semitic. Also,
Armenians are considered Semites as well.
They have some, not Armenians, Aramaic, you mean? Armenians?
I haven't looked too deeply into it, but I was listening to a guy who was talking about Semites and
Armenians are not.
What their origins are, and he specifically said Jews, Arabs, and
Armenians.
Yeah.
Now he made grave mistakes, because Armenians genetically are Aryan people. They're Iranian cousins. They don't call themselves Armenian, they call themselves Hayastan or Hayastani. They call Armenia Hayastan. But the word somehow Armenia magically appeared, and really nobody knows how we got this word, but some esoteric researcher believe that Armenia comes from army. The word army in English, they were really, and that's kind of true, Armenians were the army of Iranians. They were great fighters. They were, extremely brave. They were like, backbone of the Iranian Empire. One of the first thing that damaged the Iranian Empire or Persian Empire was taking away the Armenia from Iran. because they converted them to Christianity. And after that, I'm talking about the Christianized Roman Empire. What they did, they converted Armenians to Christianity. They took away their culture. Immediately they gave them new script, new way of writing, and Armenia was gone. Armenia was gone, even though they still were in touch with us. But you know, so going back to this part that they claim that Jewish race, there is no such thing as Jewish race. You're either Semite or not. If you're Semite, so that means you should say all the Semites are the God's children. That includes Arabs, and that includes Aramaic people, that includes Babylonians, But if you just say, just Jewish people were created, and we're Semite, by the way, because if you say anything about them, about their history or what's going on in Talmud, they immediately call you Anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic. Where this word came from. So if you believe in Semite, you're actually Semite. Oh, okay, so what about Arabs? Arabs are being killed. Again, I'm not on the side of Palestinians or Arabs. I'm just trying to say the whole thing is so funny. Everything is so ridiculous in their, book. But going back to that book, basically says if the rest of the world need to serve us as two-legged animals so we can live in, comfort, don't ever work, don't produce anything, don't create anything. Take a look at the Hollywood movies, they created every single thing that was created was including cameras, film, lighting, everything was made by a non-Jewish guy. They patented everything, they put them together, and they started doing what? They started copying other people's stories and turning them to the movie that they want. Not even the correct version of the stories. They turn the version to something that they like to see.
Or that they want us to see.
Yeah, or they want us to see. I said they like to see is just because of the manifestation. What they're doing, believe it or not, the magic of cinema, you keep hearing the magic of cinema. This is a very ancient art of black magic coming from Babylonia to our time. They try to manifest and redirect the history. You're not going to believe, because history has already happened, but because of the knowledge that they got in Babylonia, they realized that you can actually, not only you can go forward in time, but also you can go back in time and change the course of history. So if they didn't...
Are you talking about rewriting history?
Well...
Or are you talking about time travel?
Not just... Well, take a look at the Back to the Future movie.
So you believe that they're traveling in through time?
In a way. What they do...
Figuratively or literally?
It's a law of manifestation. What it means, they say, okay, up to now, we were like this, like this, like this. Like let's say Germany was a pioneer in philosophy, music, physics, this, chemistry, and almost everything. Their history, they want to see themselves in history being praised, being important. So they kind of want to get rid of this real history that has happened and create their own.
So they're rewriting history is what you're saying?
Well, rewriting it, but believe it or not, I'm not saying this is really going to happen. It's up to you to believe it or not. But they also believe that history is going to be changed physically too. Meaning, it's kind of weird. Bear with me. But meaning, if you go back to the museum, you might, in 50 years from now, if you go back to museum, you might see that the inventor of automobile, who was a German guy, was actually a Jew. It's an alternative world that they created. It sounds crazy, but this is exactly what they believe.
I think maybe the communists got to you.
No, but I'm telling you, this is how they believe. That's why they have all these movies about time travel. That's why they have all this. That's why they kind of shape your mind in believing things. They insist on certain things in their movies. You know, that's why they do that.
I think that's a delusional idea.
Yeah, you know, many people don't believe in that. Many people don't believe in that.
Right, but they can certainly rewrite history and make people believe what they want them to believe. I'm not saying like they can believe like people can like literally change history by rewriting it. But they can make people think something else happened than what really did.
Okay, they believe in both.
No, I'm not making a statement on what they believe in, but I'm saying what they can actually do.
Oh yeah, like, you know, what we have seen so far. For instance, let me give you an example. They have this celebration. It's known as Purim, or Purim, as Americans pronounce it. Do you know what this is?
No. I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
Okay. I actually made a clip, everybody yelled at me. But Purim is the day that they hypnotize and brainwash the Iranian Achaemenian king, King Xerxes, to basically King Xerxes, for some strange reasons, because of a woman, Esther of Mordecai, he goes and kills his own prime minister and apparently 15,000 Iranian generals and soldiers, or Persian soldiers. Okay, did this happen? No, it did not. It was a fantasy they wrote. They wish they could have done that. But I tell you what, they celebrate this event every year as if it was true. Their children make effigy of the prime minister, the Iranian prime minister of Achaemenian time. You're not talking about, sometimes people think I'm talking about like 20 years ago. I'm talking about 2,500 years ago. So you're not talking about like 20 years ago. They make effigy of the ancient Iranian prime minister and burn it, and they slash they whip it, and they make certain foods that look like his ears, and they eat. So they're kind of cannibals too.
I heard about that, yeah.
They make meatballs, and, this is, meat we're eating, or, crazy, psychotic, really crazy things. An illusion, like you said, a fantasy, never happened in Iran. Our Persian kings were protector of the nation, of the soldiers. The king was the first person in a war, up front. He was, giving courage to the soldiers behind him. So he would never, ever kill his own soldier in a war. You know what I'm saying?
That's how it used to be in the old days.
Exactly.
Europe as well.
Exactly. So why in the whole world, no matter how this Jewish woman was pretty, we know how Jewish looked like back then. They were all brown. And, he would never, ever, first of all, kill his own prime minister on a woman, like, not any woman. And second of all, kill his own generals and soldiers. This is treason. There was a council of royalship, or basically they were monitoring or basically dog watching the king, because king could have gone crazy, maybe he's gone to a war and somebody poisoned him and king's gone crazy, or maybe he got meningitis or something. They were monitoring king's behavior. If he was totally out of line, they would immediately hold a meeting and fire this king. Basically, so it wasn't like any king could, do crazy things back then. I mean, I don't know about all kings, but definitely in Iran, so many times king were impeached. You're not going to believe. Yes, you couldn't impeach Bush or Haji Hussein Obama, but yes, you could impeach a king. And
can you imagine either one of them leading an army into battle? from the front?
Oh my God, exactly.
And I'll bring this up. That Purim, or how do you pronounce it?
Purim or Purim.
Purim.
Yes.
May or may not be a fantasy, and if it's a fantasy, whatever. But to me, what it seems like they're celebrating is the idea of infiltration.
Yeah.
And bringing down another country or society through a type of sabotage. And so that they're celebrating this to tell their own people, like, yes, this is a good thing.
Yeah, like being sleazy and treasonous is good. And but the reason I say it's not true is because they have actually a scholar who I recently contacted her. I had a chance. She's from Israel. She's a Jew, and she studied Persian culture, Iranian culture, and Iranian languages. And first of all, this lady showed me so many Hebrew words that are not Hebrew at all. They're actually Persian. They're Iranian words in their language. And by the way, one of these words is secret. Secret in Iranian language is raz, and it's exactly the same in Hebrew. Makes you wonder why this word hasn't changed at all. Why did they borrow it? Because there are secrets that they're keeping. There are secrets that they stole from the royal library, and even their script, their alphabet, was known as a secret alphabet of Iranian court. We get to that some other time, but it's a long story.
Well, they borrowed a lot of things from the Persians. One I can think of in particular that's in the Old Testament is the concept of Armageddon.
Yes, the concept of Armageddon. However, they turn it to something very scary, because the concept of Armageddon originally, the word basically in Iranian script means renewal. Because Iranians believe once in a while the society becomes so corrupted, and so sometimes not even corrupted, it becomes like extremely boring, because you keep doing something over and over and over, and there is no innovation, there is nothing, and then you have, there is a time that everything get basically renewed or, refreshed. The word is farshugard, and fresh in English has the same root as farshogard. And the first part is farshu, is fresh in English. Means,
fresh.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically everything would be refreshed. And that was our Armageddon. That wasn't something scary. That was something actually to celebrate. But they turned into this scary shit that you can't even.
What's your language?
Oh, sorry. You can I say these things? No, I can't.
No.
You can't even think of anything close to that. But that being said, the reason I said this Purim and stuff was this illusional stuff, and the reason I brought this up is that, yes, I think it is illusion. Why? This lady also, this scholar, this Israeli scholar, says it doesn't exist in other texts, because one text should refer to another and another to another. This is how you find the source of the text. But it's kind of, there is a disconnection.
All right.
And it seems somebody just made it up.
Yeah.
And other writers or scholars in Jewish studies don't quote this guy. This guy out of the blue just wrote this. Just one person, one event, and these other scholars don't know anything about him. Number one, Romans were our enemy. Greeks were our enemy. They never mentioned anything like that.
Talking about the enemy of the Persians.
Yes, enemy of, Persians. They never mentioned anything about, one Jewish mistress causing this horrendous action of King of Iran. They would have been very happy if there was such thing. They would have mentioned it 10 times. Believe me.
Right.
Because they were just watching Iran or Persia closely to make a mistake, and then they would magnify it and say, see, they're stupid. We were telling you that. But the fact of the matter is nobody, either Greek scholars, Greek historians, or Romans really don't have too many historians, because they really thought that really reading is a waste of time. But Greeks never mention anything about that. And so that brings us to this. Why is it that they have this illusion? I tell you what. Because just like the movie Creation of Lying, not Creation of Lying, what was the name of that movie? The Invention of Lying, sorry.
Invention of Lying.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy, I forgot the name of the main guy.
Oh, anyway, I just call him the main guy.
Chubby guy. He's a comedian, British comedian. He's a funny guy. Apparently in this movie, in this story, doesn't really have any skills, doesn't have any spark. Nobody really cares about him. And on the other hand, there is another character who's got everything. And he keeps talking about good genes in this story also. I'm not trying to make everything about your genes. Your soul is the most important thing. That's for sure. But apparently this guy, the opponent guy, he's more handsome, he's more skillful, he writes nice stories and everything. And nobody knew what lying and deception was until this chubby guy, who doesn't have really skills, he doesn't have charisma, really girls don't like him. He come up with the first lie in history. He says he's got $800 in his bank account while he didn't have any money in his bank account. That was the a story of creation of money. The money that doesn't exist, they started up with the first lie in history of mankind. They gave you a receipt that says, I owe you, and you can apparently use that as money, but it doesn't even exist. Then he realizes that he can, you know, take care of his other shortcomings with, you know, making his stories, making more stories, and lying even more. So he come up with because he's a script writer, he come up with this script that he found it in the desert and this and that, and it's like the best script in the world, and put some coffee on it, make it like look like what? Old. This is what exactly they're doing. Like they're turning things, making it look like very ancient and old. We just, you know, found these scrolls over in some cave, you know, somehow miraculously they survive and anything else just vanished except them, you know. And then he did lots of things.
So you're saying the Dead Sea Scrolls are a fraud?
Yeah, like, well, I'm not just saying that particularly, although I have a problem, nothing else is left in that land except these scrolls. Like, we get to that some other time, but there's so many other things that they make up stories about, and then you know, basically this guy, but the fact of the matter is this guy is hiding all of his shortcomings through what? Through lies. Deceit and lies. And in the movie, because I totally believe the writer of this story is telling the truth, but also make you feel kind of, make you feel liking this person. This person is kind of likable. That he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be likable. If you lie, you're betraying everyone. You know? So I think the same way. I think when they come up with this illusion of being chosen ones, and they're the only ones that have rights, that tells you something. That tells you these people were envying other nations, other people, other tribes. And because these other nations, other people, other tribes were hardworking people, if let's say Indo-European people made their fortune, made beautiful castles, beautiful streets, beautiful everything, was because of their hard work. It wasn't, but they wanted to have this with little work, not working at all actually, if you think about it. That's why today they're doing the same thing. You know, if you take a look at what they're doing, is that you know, this is a formula that they found it in their Talmudic teaching, how I can put all these people in a position that they work for me, but they really think that they're working for themselves. I can do that. Can I do that? Yes, of course. There is a method. And what was the method? The method was introduced not all of a sudden, but throughout the history. They took one step at a time. That's what exactly they are doing today. Yesterday, they were able to normalize what? Pornographic pictures or movies. Through what? Freedom of speech. They were able to do that.
Right.
Then later on, they came up with this sexual freedom, and they said, hey, you know, sexual. And none of us realized what was the agenda behind porn. What was the agenda behind sexual freedom? Because we thought, this is good, this is freedom, this is a part of, you know, me that I keep ignoring, or I keep suppressing, not knowing that it was not suppression, it was actually the real liberty, is to live like a human being and evolve rather than, devolving, basically, going back to,
rather than living like an animal.
Exactly. Because we are definitely, because if you go to like a Cincinnati Zoo, I don't recommend it because of what happened, but if you go there,
hey, just don't jump into the gorilla
exactly.
pit.
Just be careful with your kids, for God's sake.
Hell, let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
My opinion is like, all right, if you have your child and your child runs out in the street and gets hit by a car,
mm-hmm.
do you complain that there's not enough fences on the sidewalk?
Of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
Okay. Yeah. Like, why should it be any less obvious about a child, running over a rock wall and jumping into a moat, basically?
Yeah.
Where on the other side of it, I don't know how big these things are. What, like 600-pound gorillas, 400-pound gorillas? And I haven't looked that deeply into the story, but like,
yeah, absolutely.
Kids do stupid things, and I understand it can be difficult to keep a hold of them sometimes, but that's just the way it is. We can't. You can't put a fence about everything. I guess in this case they could put a fence there, but I mean, like, how obvious does it have to be that you should prevent your child from jumping in there yourself?
I guess, this could have helped that kid and his parents if, like in Iranian or Persian, instead of zoo, you would have called this Garden of Wild. That's exactly how we call it, Garden of Wild.
Oh, that's what you call it in Persia?
Yeah. Meaning, you're getting into this Garden of Wild on your own risk. Like, it's a risk. This is wild. Like, if you go to Africa, there's lions, there's everything, Yeah, you can travel to Africa and maybe even do hunting, but, it's your own risk. Yeah, absolutely, you can go to Africa. Same thing with this zoo thing, or Garden of Wild, Animals are wild. Yeah. And whoever wants to say that, no, but they have conscience, I tell you what, there is a poem, again in Persian, says that, there was a mythology about the people who went to a cave and they took a dog with them, and they woke up, it was kind of like a Twilight Zone, really. They woke up and they're like hundreds of years passed, and they're the only people alive out of their families. Nobody knows them. Nobody knows who they are. But the thing is also, what's so assimilated with them that he was doing everything that they were doing. So what it tells you, a dog is a dog, or animal is an animal. If you can teach a cat to do crazy and sweet things, that doesn't mean the cat is your brother or your sister or your, son or whatever. It's your mental influence on that animal. It's not like they are a part of the human society. So don't kind of always differentiate between an animal and a human being.
Now you and I are both cat lovers.
Oh, absolutely, I love cats.
But the thing is if the cats were larger than us, and sometimes we make them mad, the cat would rip us apart.
Absolutely, are you kidding me? Just imagine a world that the cats actually were larger and we human were kind of smaller, do you think that they would have kept us as pets? I don't think so. I don't think so.
They would hunt us down like mice.
Exactly. You know, so I'm not saying like don't love animals, because this is not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, hey, you know, the reason that we are who we are is our mental capability. So going back and regress to the level of animals, it's not a part of, oh, I've been suppressing that. No. Even animals, they have mating season.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
even if you really regress to animal level, they have mating season. They don't jump on each other like all the time.
Yeah, for the rest of the year, they're
Yeah.
not mating.
Yeah. So
We're kind of privileged in that way.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, they try to say, oh, it's normal, it's a part of your animal instinct, you have to do this, you have to do that, and eventually they reach to the point that this is what they're trying to say, that human being could be anything. You know, you can be you know, androgen, a biological robot who obeys, and you know, who is a part of their huge machine, also known as a state. Do you know what Friedrich Nietzsche said about a state? He said, the state is the coldest monster of all that pretends that I, a state, am of the people, which is not true at all. Basically, the states don't represent peoples. And statism is the most dangerous of all in every society, because it kills innovation, it kills individuality. But what makes a state great is the people in a society that make a state a state. You know, if people, you know, and this is the funny part, this is the ironic part, that they want to make this utopia that, you know, androgen people, not female, not male. Androgynous people, not female, not male, walking around in their stretchy suits, you know, and serving these people. But guess what? This is not going to happen. How boring is that thing? You know, you know, the reason is great is because every one of us is a universe. Every one of us has a different opinion, different idea. How boring is that world that everything is the way that they want it to be? I mean, I'm just talking about this elite illusion doesn't stop right there with their changing the history. The future that they design is the most boring piece of crap.
At least for us. I mean,
well, for them too. I mean,
well, I don't know. They probably have their own ideas of fun that they will never let us see or touch.
Well,
you know.
Yeah, most likely. But I'm telling you, like, how many times they want to look at the gladiators ripping each other, you know, apart. You know, how many times, like, they get. Believe me, they're going to get bored of that game too later on. But whatever it is, this is their problem. Our problem today is this. You need to wake up. You need to stop being politically correct. When I say stop being politically correct, it's not because I'm conservative or I'm none of this above. I'm not a conservative nor a liberal. I just believe in what is. What is that human beings are free. They're made in female and male form. There is some little exceptions, but the fact of the matter is, right now, because you want to be the nice one, because you don't want other people, because you have this hidden policing in the society too.
Political correctness.
Political correctness, but you know, when I was a little kid.
Well, I mean, let's just go back to, you're talking about the policing, like, go back to the clip of Patricia McAllister.
Yes.
When they interviewed her on the street, like, she didn't even, like, declare, like I'm here representing blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They asked her what her job was, and she said, oh, yeah, I work for the school system, whatever. And then she got fired for stating her opinion. It had nothing to do with her job, nothing at all. She wasn't on the job.
No.
You know?
Exactly.
She got fired for giving an opinion.
And the funny part is that the anchor man and anchor woman, they were self-policing themselves. They said, how dare she talking like this? It reminded me of what? It reminded me of me being in the elementary school. I was asking crazy questions from my teacher because that's how it should be.
Right, right.
But then my classmates policing me. Like, they were like, oh, stop asking like these stupid questions. Why are you so stupid? Are you stupid? You know,
I believe the term for that now is virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling, yes, exactly. Good save. So stop virtue signaling. Stop self-censoring yourself. Self-policing, you know, yourself.
Yeah, if you want diversity, at least diversity of ideas, let people speak their mind.
Exactly.
And they might, you know, provide you a different point of view of looking at things, a different angle that you might not have thought of.
Exactly. Exactly. How do you want to evolve if nobody would challenge you? Just imagine going to a gym that there is no way in the gym for you to work out. I don't call that a gym. You go to an empty room. That's what it is.
Yeah, no challenge.
No challenge. But in the gym, there are obstacles. There are heavy weights that you need to pick up and work out. And maybe after you practice enough, you can call yourself, hey, you know, I'm a beautiful person. When you look at yourself, if you're working out. But other than that, just go into the building known as gym without a way in that gym, you're just wasting your time. Same thing with, your mental progress, mental exercise.
Yeah, if you're not exposed to different ideas, then how does your mind grow?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
That's I've never been to college, but what I'm seeing that they're doing to these college students, you know, and how they're indoctrinated and how they self-police, and I mean, because it's the strongest advocates of this stuff, or it seems like the college students themselves, they don't want any diversity of ideas or anything, and that they have this notion that if anybody says anything different, they claim that they've been triggered and that they go through an emotional crisis, panic attack.
Exactly.
And that no one should give an opinion that contradicts theirs.
Exactly. Which brings us to this clip, Sam. It's a clip of college kids say the darndest things on gender. I want you to take a look at this clip. This is exactly what Sam was talking about. We are in a very, very crucial part of history. Either you need to decide to stop being politically correct, or you stay this way and you're going to destroy the whole history. Let's watch this clip together. Yes, it's called College Kids Say the Darnest Things on Gender.
In light of all the conversation about gender and identity, we began to wonder if there's even a difference between men and women anymore. We went to Seattle University to find out.
Aware of the conversation state right now around kind of gender identity, gender expression issues, and the ability to access facilities on those grounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, there's gender neutral bathrooms in like all the dorms and stuff like that.
I think that gender is fluid, so if you want to use a bathroom because that's a place and that's a space where you feel comfortable and safe in doing so, then I think that that's completely fine.
I think that if whoever you think you are, if you're male or female, then that's the bathroom you should go into.
I think if it doesn't really negatively affect anybody, then I think anyone should be able to choose what gender they choose to identify as.
People, no matter what their gender identification is, they should be allowed to use whatever restrooms they feel like they identify with.
Is there a difference in your mind between men and women?
No, yes. I mean,
possibly. In general, yes. But I don't know why I think that.
Socially, currently, yes, there is. There is no need for that difference to exist, scientifically and logically.
If you think that you're a male, if you think that you're a female, that matters more than the biological difference.
There's not much difference besides what society forces onto people.
And how do you know the difference